Welcome to the Not Just Ad Show, where B2B brands discover how creator-led content drives pipeline, builds trust, and grows long-term brand equity. Each episode, we speak with business leaders, founders, and creators who are defining their categories. I'm your host, Marcus Sherwin, and this is the Creator Economy for B2B. Okay, and welcome to the show, Not Just Ads, the creator economy for B2B. Today, I am joined by Olga Andrenko, former VP of Brand at Semrush. Olga, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Marcus.
Thanks. Great to have you. So maybe we'll just roll back a bit in terms of your experience, in terms of where you started in the world of B2B marketing and what kind of led you into that career.
It started 11 and a half years ago when I just discovered the Semrush on a webinar by one of the social media influencers. And he was just showing different websites. And then he showed how people can analyze competitors and get content ideas from it. So I thought this was amazing and everybody needs to have access to that. I wrote to Semrush, like, guys, you're so awesome. I just discovered you on the webinar. And I used to be the head of sales and marketing for a bus company before that. I left. I thought I will take a bit of a career break, but it lasted only 1 month because I discovered Semrush and I kind of downshifted like a social media manager because I thought, okay, whatever position these guys have, I will join and I will submit. So I started as a social media manager and like quickly transitioned to head of social. And I arrived when Semrush didn't have really any community. And I figured out that this is our moment, like, to really start analyzing what people talk about, what will people already say about us. And at the same time, I saw some mentions from influencers, and that's where I started using social media not as a broadcasting platform. My posting was okay, but it was nothing great. But I chose to pick a lot of articles to share on Twitter, and I made sure that my tweet stood out for the author. So I tagged the author, I created some image to ensure that they actually liked and retweeted us. So that was like a strategic point where I needed to get my post like to a specific person, and that's where the attention started growing, and that's also where I made sure that I commented like on any relevant posts from any influencers. So it was a blend of social and influencer marketing straight away, like from 2013, and also like my partner that I like worked closely with, this was an influencer marketing manager, and her goal was to give free Semrush accounts like to 100 people a month. So that means like she was reaching out to massive audiences. But then also when I noticed someone mentioning Semrush, I was instantly sharing that with her. So we really worked closely together for many years. So that's where like that was the start of like, and well, Semrush was like, it was very like infancy in terms of marketing. It was only a few of us, but we took PR seriously, we took social seriously, influencer marketing, and then all of those like unmeasurable organic channels. The other track was performance marketing, which, well, I was not at all involved in, but there was a big cluster of this organic promo happening.
Yeah, very interesting. In terms of then, so from the beginning, really, it was really intentional in terms of how you would see it as a growth channel in terms of linking up with, say, certain creators, influencers, and how you can kind of try and get your brand out there through their amplification.
Yes. It was, we were not even thinking about this as we capture their audiences and so on, but it's just, we also were seeking feedback on the features. So it was intentional also from a product-led side. And it was early days. So we were just very, very excited to get someone mention us because they truly tested. So the mention only mattered if the person really used the platform.
Sure, yeah. And then just in specific to platforms then, so we see that, like, I looked at some of your posts on LinkedIn and I see you kind of treat it very intentional in terms of how you use the platform. When was there a shift for you in terms of how you would use LinkedIn, particularly as a channel in terms of as a creative channel, but also you as a creator personally?
In 2022, I think.
Okay.
I was, this was my biggest platform in terms of audience size. I had 19K, but they were
Yeah.
idle. They were just sitting
Yeah.
there. And I accumulated that because I was speaking for Semrush, and then I was just, more visible. I was like face of the brand. Then I realized that, oh my God, like it is an audience. And then also LinkedIn started growing. And then I started posting, and it was more about my thoughts and my career, some leadership. I started thinking about the pillars. So the pillars would be branding and marketing advice, leadership, also personal branding, something I was always passionate about. And then also just some examples of marketing campaigns, and then some jokes. So this was and then also I thought, okay, 10% can be lifestyle. So that means my personal updates, photos of my dog, selfies or whatever. So people still want to see that, but that needs to be really a minor part of the content. So that's how I started having a Google Doc with a calendar, and just very simple. There's no super fancy structure behind this. But yeah, I just started like recording notes, transforming them into posts, and trying to be structured about it.
Yeah. So, and a kind of consistency as well. No, you're posting. How often would you do it, or would it depend, or what normally way would you treat it?
So I started experimenting with even 3 to 5 posts a week. That is overwhelming. So the average was 4. And then I just had ups and downs. So sometimes I would just miss everything. And so, yeah, I would say that the consistency matters in terms of you need to show up weekly. Ideally at least once a week, and then if you choose the same day, that would be great. Like that would be great. Monday doesn't work because everyone just is coming to work. So I would say, my best posts were always Wednesday or Thursday posts. So yeah, that's where I kind of aimed for.
Great. And I just had a couple of points written down here. So just some things I heard you say before around personal brands can bridge brand values and behind the scenes stories. From your experience when you were at Semrush, how did you lean into that, and like what kind of business impact did you see?
Semrush is an interesting brand in that sense because, my origin there was social. So I was really, really always passionate about our social media channels. And then Semrush has a really, really strong social media presence with a great tone of voice. And so that's where our brand channel is great versus most of other companies have very boring social media. So for them, it would be even more essential to have like some personal brand existing for founder or for the speaker. But anyway, like for example, we shared the infographic on social media of the Semrush, and we shared the same infographic on my account. And then my audience was 10 times smaller, but I got more clicks to the page. That was just the trust towards something that a person shares. People don't see it as a promotional, they see it as educational, while still for an account. The amount of likes and shares, of course, is very big for a big account. But then the actual trust to click and explore more, that's definitely more into the personal brand space.
Yeah, definitely. We see that in data as well. I saw a report a while ago. It was whereby an individual's reach has X more than what a company page's reach would have on LinkedIn. And you can see that especially growing as well now with more people leaning into the platform in terms of sharing content and stuff as well. Then in terms of in your team and as you grew and stuff during your time in Semrush, how did you kind of lean into the thing of encouraging them, or kind of the point that you made there about you could see that there's more impact from a personal account than there is from a company account? How, I guess people that work in the social department within the marketing division, they're very social first. They're comfortable about sharing on the platform. How do you kind of get them to maybe share, but also that there's maybe an affiliation of brand, or do you kind of leave it, you let them share what they want and try and encourage them, or what normally is the process there that you find is most effective?
The most effective step that anybody can take is start posting themselves, because no one was posting before I was posting.
Okay.
So you normalize it for
Yeah.
people. And because there's always like this concern, okay, if I'm on LinkedIn, like would my boss think I'm looking for a job or not? And then just, well, the boss normalizing this and saying, hey, like just go out there, post, like, well, and then supporting this with some educational materials. I created a course on personal branding. I just, well, for people outside of Semrush, like, but I had a lot of people from Semrush sign up for that. And then even when I decided to create like a paid version of that, I shared the access to anybody who wanted at Semrush, because that's how I say, okay, this is normal. You should do it. And also people just how people started like treating me at work. That was like, I think, a biggest shift, because if you're a company, well, in a company for a long time, then there's still like some image of you that you create. And if also, especially if you're growing up, and then a lot of news people might be scared and they just don't know you. And then this like, well, personal brand helps unpack that and help you become relatable and
Yeah.
just human. That's where any founder or any department lead should start. Then, yeah, educational materials. So we had a private group of the first 10, 20 people who were more senior. And also, like, I realized that, okay, if I want more people posting, then I need their managers to be posting. So we were helping not so much with the content, but just with educational what works. And it would be like a mastermind group. And then I realized that also not everybody wants to be a thought leader. And then that's where there was a next step where we need to provide the written news, like, well, just written announcements and posts for the company news. And then and a lot of people are willing to share that, but they're not willing to create content
Yeah.
for it. And then if company really wants simplification, then they need to have this prepared. So we got the freelance writer, and then there was a person responsible for collecting all of the campaigns, all of the news of the company, and sharing it with her. And then she was creating like 10 posts per this campaign or per like piece of news. And then we created a different channel where we just like dropped this doc and said, hey, like take it. And then a lot of people would just like label taken, taken, taken. And this where we like scaled, this would not make anybody a thought leader. And this is just like pure, I would call it surround sound. But what I really think is important is that, okay, you have your corporate account, or you have like a brand account, you have influencers, and then you have like employees' accounts. And when someone goes on social, then they need to feel, okay, this brand is everywhere. The people I follow talk about this. Okay, they're active themselves. Like brands, well, the influencers trust this brand. And it needs to be like really this surround sound. Okay, this is everywhere. I need to pay attention. So that's the feeling I really wanted people to have when they go on LinkedIn and see Semrush.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Would there be any kind of tips that, say, 3 tips you would give for companies that they can see that there's a value here, and they see that there are some client or some of their employees they're very active, others are not, but that they can see that if they get more people active, there'll be more brand reach or for the content. Would you give them any kind of practical tips if you had 3 or something that they would, in order just to get started, in terms of how you would go about that if you're a VP of marketing or a company owner?
So first, there needs to be a few people who either work with a freelancer or with a PR manager to start posting themselves, because those voices cannot be just with company news. They need to have the stance, so to say. So they need to understand, okay, what I'm unpacking here. What do I believe in? What is my also goal? Maybe it's hiring, then they focus on leadership. Well, if they know that their audience is on LinkedIn and they just start, they pick 50 people they need to engage with, and then they have their EA, or they do it themselves when they search for the post and then go and then interact with those targeted people. Maybe they should not look beyond even 20 targeted creators or target audiences, but they start being active. And then custom GPT for you upload the tone of voice guidelines, what not to have in the posts, then, well, any content guidelines that there are within the company. Then also the post that work for you, or you can find like LinkedIn templates and then
Yeah.
upload this PDF and just have somebody drop the company news and PDF in this custom GPT. It would like generate the posts. That is still, it needs to have a lot of refinement. Well, you definitely need to do it in O3, not in point 1. So that's kind of the practical way and quick way to get at least 5-7 content pieces based on the news, and then see whether the team is willing to at least have this as draft and then tweak it to their own tone of voice. So that would be the first step. I'm actually playing with Lovable right now,
Okay.
and building this like employee advocacy small one-point solution where you drop the news and then it would auto-populate 10-15 posts. But there will be, you could do it custom in custom GPT, or what we did at Semrush as well this year. I created this, there's a tool called N8N, and then basically it also it's just automation basically, where
Okay.
you drop the news in the form, and then later, like the agent, so to say, does the Perplexity search on this topic, and then other agent just takes, it is like OpenAI API, and writes those 10-15 posts, and then drops this to the manager again in a Google Doc. So it can be solved in multiple different ways, but AI can really help you scale that.
Yeah, definitely. What's your in your experience then in terms of AI posts versus kind of purely human posts? I can see in terms of the process and the automation, that seems to be a no-brainer, like in terms of speed and so on. But in terms of authenticity, and we talk about trust and stuff like that, have you seen it where AI posts perform as good as, if not better than, what a human normal post pre-AI? Or what's your opinion about that?
Just depends where. So if this is AI first, meaning that AI thought of what you need to write, then this would be garbage. If there are, for example, there's a blog post written, and there's a study, and this is what company wants to push out. So this was an actual like human, or also AI ideation plus the human writing. And then there are like 4 or 5 pages in a PDF. And this is a study with like different conclusions. Then I don't see how AI can really damage that if you want like 10-15 employees to post, because this would be taking already the good idea, very strong data set, and some conclusions, and then just tweaking this in terms of, okay, I take this hook, and this is my like structure, and then this is like another hook, and this is fine. Like where I see really the garbage posts come out is that, okay, I don't know what to post, like analyze those 10 creators and then generate the posts for me. Then it's really, really bad. But if this is based on something that is already unique and is produced by the company, then I don't see any danger in that.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that can be definitely leveraged in terms of speed and getting feedback in terms of what's useful and what's not. Then I'm going to ask you around the B2B creator space. I know that it's an area that you've a lot of experience in, being a creator yourself, but also in terms of being the former VP of a major brand. How do you see that evolution over the last few years? What are you seeing in the space? And have you worked in the past when you were at Semrush with B2B creators, and how is it impacting the business?
So this has evolved quite a bit, because when we were a startup, then influencers are influencers because they're always looking for something new. Like they are looking for the next big thing. They're talking about like the future. So, and if you're a startup and then you providing something that is awesome and then they love, they would give you time, and then they would give you space in their content without actually asking anything like monetary for it, because this is you're small. And then especially I focused always on the creators that were not we call them like the gods of
Yeah.
marketing,
I know what you mean.
but we focused on up and coming. So we were up and coming, and then it was just like we were growing with a lot of creators.
So would you say niche creators then that are kind of aligned with what you're doing?
Yes. Yeah. But even creators with larger audiences, they would probably, if you're new and if like fresh, and if you bring something interesting, they would have time for you. Once you grow, then like they already mention you, and then they also know like and understand that you're already earning money and then you have budget. So that's where the ask comes, because and then for us for a lot of years we were providing the free accounts for influencers, and that kind of was okay, well, we give you the account, you give us feedback, but that means that they're using the account. So they were mentioning us just because this was the tool in their arsenal. Then once we grew and then once we went public, then we were not giving any free accounts anymore, like only just on a very exclusive basis, or there wasn't clear exchange.
Sure.
So that means that, okay, our relationships became more, well, it's paid. And also there are fans of the brand, they will always mention you, and then, but we also just support them. Okay, we expose them to Semrush audience. So it's still always, well, should be a win-win, but it's a very different thing. If you're a startup, then you can ask a lot more, and then people would just be willing to help you if you provide something great. And then for larger companies, that would be paid collaborations. But niche influences and nano micro influences, this is where I would start for any brand. And some might still charge money, and that's okay. Like here now, compared like to where we started, now the relationships are still like a lot more transactional. That's what I see. The only people I just there's like a different thought, but connected. So I see two types of influences. And then there are overall like mass audience creators, or they have still small audiences, but they would be aspiring creators, like to grow their audiences. And there are influencers who influence influences. They might have smaller audiences, but they, like all of their audience, they are influencers. And this is like, these are the creators that are like, or influencers that are very, very hard to get because they're not easily incentivized. For example, like you could not pay me for posting anything, right? So I was like a face of the brand. So I was also not like taking sponsorship opportunities. And then a lot of people who follow me, they are influencers in the SEO space and the marketing space. And so if I share some opinion that is like not going to the massive audiences, but this is going to the people, then they would take it to the mass audiences.
Sure.
So, and I actually see these are the most difficult people to work with because they're difficult to incentivize, but they're also most loyal because if you give something to them, then they would be, most often this is either networking or connections or data. For example, that's where you create like unique events for them, like to ensure that you have like expose them to some network that they were not exposed to. So they see value in you as a partner to grow. So they're like very different things. So if you just want the audience, then it's a creator, and then you just probably either pay or provide something for free. And if it's this like influencer who influences and creators, then it would be probably non-monetary, but you would need to think how like to incentivize them with a personal relationship.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, my dog is in the background. But yeah, the other thing I was going to ask you, which I think is really interesting as well, is around, you were mentioning before about kind of AI aviators and avatars, I should say. And like, how do you see that playing out in the B2B space specifically? Do you think that that's something with the scale and everything that will explode? Or do you think it's what you mentioned there about the big thing around trust between creators? Do you see that being kind of more of a priority than, say, people being able to scale really fast with the technology of AI in the B2B space and creators?
I'm sure that this space will explode because we will not at one point understand whether this is a real person or not. And the only way is to kind of, if they're never at conferences, if no one ever sees them, then it would be in the future a signal. So probably at some point a creator would always want to go somewhere. But at the same time, we saw that there were some celebrities on the Met Gala last year. They were in the red carpet, but they were not actually there. So it's also very difficult to validate whether your favorite creator actually went somewhere because they can technically just post it and fabricate
Yeah.
the photo. Yeah, that's like a very, very, well, a big ethical question and a question of trust. But I'm sure that there will be more and more AI creators. Right now, I was like watching a lot of videos about consistency of images. This is not here yet. So, but like in 6 months it will be. And then it would be scary. But overall, I think that's why I truly believe that like in person would matter more and more in terms of trust, and fans would need to see who they're following. They need to see, like, the audiences would need to see their creator speaking at some events, and that would be kind of as a Getty watermark is now a proof that the image was taken and exists. Like the same way, okay, I saw the creator in person, that means that they exist. But I think it's an interesting place to explore, and where it really already is being used is not so much of the influencer space, but the ad space, performance, where, well, people were endorsing some products, they're holding them, and then you cannot see that if this person is not saying that I'm a client, and then I recommend using that. So I hate the UGC use case of AI, because that can damage the trust for the brand.
Yeah.
But if that's just the advert of the product, then like I think this is the best and money saving use case you can use. So, and if you're not using the famous person, you're not using the famous creator, then it's great. But as soon as it starts being kind of UGC and you're creating AI avatar, then you know that you're in a very difficult trust space.
Yeah, definitely. UGC, could you clarify that for us, for the
Yeah,
listeners?
user-generated content. So
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
it's more of, if your clients endorse you, then it's UGC, and then if you create AI person who endorses this, but then poses as your client, then if someone understands this AI, then probably they will never buy a product, because then obviously everything now is assumed as fake from this brand.
Yeah, it's the trust issue as well, I suppose. If going down that road, that it's very hard to regain it then if it's lost or eroded. Yeah. So just a couple of kind of predictions really, maybe from your side. Where do you see the space going? Obviously you mentioned about AI, user generated content. What else? What do you see in terms of the B2B creator space? Where do you see that evolving over the next, say, 6 to 18 months?
It really depends on the platform, but as I read recently, then the creator space in LinkedIn is only 150,000 people versus, well, the creator space on TikTok and Instagram, over, like, there are millions of creators there, like, with audiences. B2B influencer space is still in its infancy. There is a feeling that, okay, everyone is posting, well, there's AI generated content everywhere, but actually still I would say maybe 5% is posting.
Yeah.
And I would say that there will be a lot more B2B creators because more people will be out of jobs. And LinkedIn is still the place where people, well, historically went to find the job. So they will go there. They will be more active. They will be sharing their influences. There will be a lot more solopreneurs and freelancers. And this would be like in the next few years. So it will not be a trigger that everyone suddenly feels that they need their urge and need to post, but there will be shifts because of AI that would make people it will push them to go out there and share, and a lot of them will gain those micro audiences. So we will see the rise of creators.
Yeah, I think it's definitely in LinkedIn. It's what you say. It's less than about 5% of people that are posting. So the ratio to members versus posters versus people that are actually constantly creating is quite low. So there's definitely a big blue ocean still there.
Yep.
Yeah. Olga, thanks very much for joining the show. This was really interesting. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks a lot.